The last practice changed everything for the Commanders. And if you thought our offseason was under control, hold on to your seat. A bomb went off at the training field, and the dynamics of our offense just flipped upside down. First, a completely unexpected injury on day 3 halted the field. The tension rose, anxiety took over. But this misfortune opened the doors of hope for a young talent no one anticipated, and now he's grabbing the chance of his life. I'm going to reveal who this gem is and why the coaching staff is in shock, but keep this information to yourself because the story gets worse. This absence directly connected with an even bigger problem. A crucial tight end for our scheme simply didn't hit the field. His absence instated chaos in the offensive hierarchy, and a quiet substitute is taking over the main plays and redefining our look for 2026. These 3 situations are about to collide. If you don't understand what's happening in each of them now, you won't understand anything you see in Week 1. I'll deliver all the names and details of this story right now. But first, leave your like on the video, just a click, and it helps me a lot to keep bringing the truth about the Commanders to you. After the closed practice of the Washington Commanders on Friday, Saturday marked the 3rd day of sessions without protective equipment. It was also the first day that fans could watch the proceedings, as the NFL's Back Together Saturday program was in full swing. The 3rd day brought encouraging news about the recovery of an important receiver, showcased the first significant movement in the kicking position battle, and saw the defense continue to create problems for the offensive attack. The best news of the day was seeing Treylon Burks back on the field after missing Thursday's practice due to a foot injury. At this point in his career, after all the injury issues that have plagued him and with him having a second chance in the NFL, this was literally the last thing he wanted to happen. Burks looked good and comfortable running routes and connecting with Jaden Daniels during 3rd down drills. Not only is it good for him personally to be back on the field, but if he wants to stay in the competition for the 2nd wide receiver position, being on the field to maintain rhythm is absolutely crucial. Besides Burks, Daniels also connected with Jalen Lane a few times during the session. Currently, there's a significant traffic jam at the wide receiver position, with Burks and Lane competing for defined roles on the roster, behind Terry McLaurin in the hierarchy. This means every repetition is important and can make the difference between staying or being cut. Running back Jeremy McNichols also impressed with 2 strong runs during practice. McNichols continues to show everyone why he remains a hard player to remove from the running backs room, despite the younger and more attractive options around him. His reliability as a runner, pass protector, and 3rd down option puts him in line to secure another spot on the roster this fall. The kicking position battle moved in a slightly different direction on Saturday. Jake Moody converted all 8 kicks he attempted, while Drew Stevens finished with 7 makes in 8 attempts. Moody now has 2 consecutive practices without errors after his perfection on Thursday. Quantrez Knight managed to gain attention for his name after making the biggest defensive play of the unit by intercepting a pass from the rookie quarterback. Making spectacular plays when you are at the bottom of the roster is a good way to improve your chances in special teams or on the practice squad. Will Harris, Rasul Douglas, and Akella Witherspoon were all playing close to the ball and managed to break passes during the session. After practice, several offensive line players had the opportunity to take snaps for quarterbacks Sam Hartman and Marcus Mariota. Among them were Trent Scott, Brandon Coleman, and Tyler Cooper. Whenever you finish a practice feeling that one side of the field performed well, it means the other side did not perform as well. In this situation, the offense is still trailing on the scoreboard after 3 full practices without pads. On Saturday, Washington's defensive backs managed to press the receivers repeatedly at the moment of reception, which prevented the offense from establishing any kind of consistent rhythm. It is common for a defense to start training camp ahead of the offense, even when both units are implementing new systems. That does not mean the offense's struggles do not deserve careful attention. Athan Kaliakmanis threw another interception after Malik Spencer had intercepted a pass from him on Thursday. Consecutive practices with interceptions are not a very promising sign for a 7th-round quarterback competing with Sam Hartman for developmental opportunities on the practice squad. Rookie wide receiver Antonio Williams also dropped a pass, which may represent a small missed opportunity in a tight position battle. Dan Quinn said before practice that Nick Allegretti would be sidelined for approximately a week due to a calf injury. Tight end John Bates would also be out for several weeks due to a thigh strain. The return of Burks after a foot injury and Moody's perfect performance on kicks were the bright spots of the day on the field. Washington's offense still has a lot of work to do against a defense that dominated practically all sessions this week. Monday will be the first practice with pads for the team and the next important moment for evaluation, especially of the offensive line, running backs, and other players involved in the line of scrimmage. Washington Commanders head coach Dan Quinn announced on Saturday that tight end John Bates suffered a thigh strain during Thursday's practice and will be out for several weeks. While injuries are never good for anyone, Washington can move forward, knowing this is not a more serious injury and that it occurs at a position where the team has good depth. Bates is clearly a key piece in the scheme of new offensive coordinator David Blau. His injury will provide more opportunities for other tight ends in the group. Ben Sinnott will directly benefit the most from Bates' absence, with his blocking skills being particularly valuable. Chig, Okonkwo, Colson Yankoff, and Lawrence Kager should also receive more attention in this process. Bates adds extra value on the field with his physicality, blocking ability, and highly underrated receiving skills, which allow him to operate in heavier offensive formations. Replacing those skills is not something that can be easily done in free agency at this time of year. All these players are currently on rosters, and that's why Sinnott is the most poised to have more opportunities. Dan Quinn acknowledged that Bates' absence will create opportunities at other positions. He stated that John is a warrior and will come back, but that it opens up space for other players who need a spot on the starting roster. Ben Sinnott was drafted with the expectation of becoming a complete tight end, not just a specialist in a specific position. Bates' absence will put Sinnott in formations and situations he might not have experienced as frequently. This represents more than just an opportunity to catch passes more often. More time on the field means the coaching staff will have more time to evaluate him in relation to the needs of the position. This is the opportunity Sinnott has been waiting for, and how he seizes it could determine whether he will earn the more prominent role many expected him to compete for this season. Chig Okonkwo is another player whose workload will be affected by Bates' absence. Okonkwo's style is more suited to receiving passes and creating mismatches for the opposing defense in open field. His usage will likely increase in certain specific situations. While Okonkwo isn't necessarily a direct replacement for Bates, he blocks better than most tight ends who receive passes. With the expectation that Bates will be sidelined for a few weeks, Sinnott now has the opportunity to impress the coaching staff and cement himself even more before the normal rotation returns. How he handles this situation could expand his role even after Bates returns. Although Bates' injury put Washington in a tough position early in training camp, this is the most significant opportunity Ben Sinnott has had as a professional. Washington Commanders' closed practice on Friday didn't bring new on-field information, but a brief update on the search for a new receiver gave some important hints. John Keim of ESPN reported that Washington is still monitoring Stefon Diggs. It doesn't seem that any other receivers available on the market are a viable option for the team. Keim went on to say that clearly money was an issue in the negotiations. To be clear, monitoring Diggs doesn't mean Washington is actively negotiating with him. What this tells us is that Washington is interested, but seems to be trying to let the situation unfold with the players already on the roster. Keim wouldn't have made this comment for any other reason. Washington could continue evaluating the talent of its receivers throughout the rest of training camp without completely ruling out the possibility of adding another experienced veteran. The team started training camp without a defined second receiver behind Terry McLaurin. Of course, 2 practices without pads would never be enough time to provide that definitive answer. Washington's current approach to the situation gives most players a chance to compete for bigger roles, while the team monitors Diggs' availability. Keim's report certainly narrows down options, inadvertently revealing part of the team's intentions. This suggests that he is the only veteran receiver they would be interested in on the market. We hope this is one of those situations that resolves itself during training camp. Otherwise, Diggs may very well end up donning the burgundy and gold uniform eventually. The Commanders will hold their first open practice to the public on Saturday as part of the NFL's Back Together weekend event. The parking lots open at 7 in the morning, the gates at 7:30, and the practice begins at 8:30 in the morning Eastern Time. The session will take place at the BigBear.ai Performance Center in Ashburn, Virginia. The team will also offer activities for fans, including a kids area, appearances by Redskins legends, and other attractions during practice. This provides a fantastic opportunity for fans to see up close how the team is developing during this crucial phase of training camp. So, fan, after discovering how the third day of training camp revealed crucial developments for the roster, understanding how John Bates' injury opened an invaluable door for Ben Sinnott, and knowing that Washington continues to monitor Stefon Diggs as options dwindle, which of these situations leaves you feeling more hopeful or worried? Do you believe Ben Sinnott will be able to seize this opportunity and establish himself as an important tight end for the Commanders? Or will he struggle to stand out when he gets more playing time? And more importantly, do you trust that Washington will be able to resolve the receiver situation with the players already on the roster, or will the team need to bring in Stefon Diggs to compete in the playoffs? Leave your opinion in the comments. I want to know what you think about the future of the Washington Commanders.